Okay, I've started the the recording. Okay, good afternoon, brothers. Good afternoon, sirs. Yeah. Okay, my name is Olaoye Timothy Ogunleke. I'm the final year student in the Department of Manufacturing Engineering, Institute of Technology, Trali in County Kerry, Ireland. I am doing a project about creating a system that will enhance implementation of ISO standard in IT industry. And I have here SME. I've worked with all of them before. They are experts in areas of in different areas of information technology, and I have them today to discuss the how standard as in IT and other standard that may be known to them has helped in the in delivering their projects, their work to the client or their customers. But before we go on, I would like them to introduce themselves so that at least we know them by name and their area of specialization, probably the number of years of experience to be certain that they are actually an SME in their respective area. So let's start with Adeoye. It's already on the screen to okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adeoye Afolabi, as it's saying. I'm into networking, basically it's enterprise networking. I've had 5 years as a support engineer, like 2 organizations, and currently I've had 5 years experience building and designing enterprise network with maximum uptime. Out of the 5 years, I've had 2 years with a service provider, a top-notch service provider, making sure clients network are uptime, 99.9% uptime. Currently, I do optimize designs for basically financial institutions, the top financial institutions in Nigeria for the new network, the new Cisco network. I'm basically into Cisco, Fortinet, and every other OEM, Palo Alto also. So I'm a solution architect with a Cisco partner, with a Cisco Gold partner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adeoye. Yeah, we have Kayode.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Okay, good afternoon.
My name is Kayode Owabumo. I'm actually an IT service analyst, and I've been into this game for more than 10 years. In part of my experience, I have been able to work with some few companies. I've been able to help in their service delivery, and I've been able to manage different tasks, and I've been able to also support other provider in making sure that we have a quality uh, network, and also to be able to assist users in solving some of their issues. So, and I have I'm certified for IT, and also um, I've also run some few trainings regarding IT service operations, which is a second level in IT after the foundation. So
Okay.
at least with few this, at least I can help in rendering some of my basic experience, all the aspects I work with. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kayode. Yeah, we have Oluwafunsho.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Olaoye Awojodu. Uh, I'm a systems engineer. I've been in the IT world for about well over 10 years now. I have experience basically in the voice aspect of things. I've been working with from legacy systems, the PABX systems, and currently I work with Cisco IPT technology and the Microsoft Skype for Business technology, voice technology. I've worked for a number of companies over time, but I'm currently in the oil and gas field, supporting the telephony infrastructure for oil and gas companies. So that's
Thank you.
basically.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we have Martins.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone, again.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Martins Agbola. I'm a Tetra system integrator at the moment. Taking cue from my other people who have introduced themselves. I started off as an administrator, Tetra system administrator. Later, I became an engineer, a technician, and now I am actually an integrator. I've been on this for a few years. When I say few, I really mean few. I was I was into Tetra telecommunication system for, I mean, as an administrator for about 3 to 4 years. Then as a technician stroke an engineer for about another 5 years, and I've been an integrator for also about 5 years now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yeah, like I said, it's just about an ongoing research I'm carrying out, or to formulate something that could be beneficial to industry. And thank you for being here. I see IT in a ways to start. I see IT as a client-oriented service or product, because whatever we do in IT, we have someone as a recipient, or yeah, we render service or product to either a group of people or an individual. So, and if that is the case, satisfaction of such people or those set of people should be of paramount concern to us. If we are providing service to somebody, we should be able to get the person satisfied, probably because of what they paid for, or probably because of our own reputation as a service provider. So, if that is the case, then uh, uh, as a provider, we need to get something more than expected from us by our client or our customer at every point in time. If we are to keep the business going, if we are to be on top of the game for our business, and if we are to deliver that expectation, I think we need to work in a standard with a standard, and that's where we're going to start from. So we're going to start with standard. Standard is a general statement. It's a general statement which I believe all of us will have a perspective. I mean, a different perspective, or probably after everything we might have a conclusion about what uh, uh, a standard is, or what it means to us in delivering our work. So let me start by saying, how can we describe standard? How do we describe standard?
Okay, when you say standard, what we're actually referring to as standard is an acceptable way
Yeah.
of carrying out a task, which is generally documented, not just doing things or acting haphazardly. You have to, I mean, it's a normal way of doing it, documented, steps to take, how to go about it.
Hmm.
Uh, that is my take on what we mean by standard.
Okay. Okay.
And if I would butt in a little, I think just to add to what he has said is another thing to say is a general way of or general acceptability, accepting a particular way of doing something or delivering something, a general way whereby we all accept that that kind of either procedure or standard. Standard is just having a general way of doing things. Thank you.
Okay, for me, when we talk about standard, standard by who and for who? Who are those that have accepted the standard and why, on what basis? So, as it is in IT now, we have ISO as an organization that enforces, that make sure that standards are obeyed, are adhered to.
Yeah.
So we have ISO as an organization that make sure that before you do certain things, there should be a standard. So in IT, particularly, the focus is mostly on security. So most companies that want to set up an IT company, that want to set up a particular process of operation, you must have a particular standard. So judging by that, a standard has to be agreed on by an authority.
Authority, yeah.
Yeah, so there should be an authority, an agreed authority that, okay, these are the people that lay down the standard. And that standard is not something they just came up with that, okay, just do it this way. There's been an analysis on processes, failures, what happened, the root cause analysis, RCA on all the failures, all the major operations and projects that has happened. So from all those experiences and failures, they come up with standards of operation. So like in security, there is no bank in Nigeria today that will operate without adhering to ISO 2002701, which is the guideline on storing their data for a minimum of 10 years and so many other operations. Now there is a new standard in terms of data center. All banks today must move all their data center recovery center to a dedicated data center service provider. So as it is now, all the banks that they've been given up to this deadline has been shifted. So as it is, the authority in charge of that standard is Central Bank and ISO. So for every standard, there should be a governing authority.
A governing authority.
Yeah, a governing authority. And the governing authority aligns with the government of the country. So because even as ISO is international, they need to work with the government to enforce and make sure that these standards are adhered to.
Okay.
That's my take on it.
All right.
Hello?
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, so standards, to me, to add to what everybody has said, standards also means, just like Adu has said, is a set of rules governed by an authority. And it also gives us the comfort of doing, we are doing something at different locations. We are providing the same service to people. The service we are providing to is not, the service A is providing is supposed to be the same as the service B is providing. And because if we follow the standards, we are supposed to have that the same service across board. So it doesn't, irrespective of who is providing the service, if we are following the same set of rules, it should be the same service across board.
Across board.
One service for one person, another service for another.
Okay.
Hello, can we hear me? If you can hear me, just to cap it, if we are not taking too much time, I think standard has been well defined by all of us here now. Like in telecommunication, we have different standards. We have the GSM standard. We have the Tetra standard. Even in automobile, you can't see a car that has its own accelerator pedal on the left. They are always on the right. So these are
It's a
standards,
standard.
these are
Yeah,
rules.
yeah.
Yes, you can't change all these things. Whether you are Volvo, you are Toyota, you are Nissan, whatever, the pedal are always like that. Your steering can be in another place, or your clutch. These are standards. These are rules. These are a set of procedure laid down by a group of people and accepted to. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, thank you everyone on that on that on that opening remark for as in defining standard, because that is actually the bedrock, the pillar on which every other thing we rely on. So, okay, and I said earlier I'm looking at a standard in I pick ITIL as a standard as against the ISO standard. Reason is because I feel is ISO is majorly on customer satisfaction. Everything that has to do with how happy our customers are at the end of everything, aside other benefit of standard. Then the same thing with IT, which is basically on IT, is an IT standard as well. So I picked that one as a standard from IT side, and going forward, I say okay, ITIL is a standard, is a set of standard which we all agree to, and if I will ask how has this standard help us to achieve our aim, our objective of satisfying our customer. Maybe in practical sense, how have we apply this to make our customer happy? Because it's a standard we follow, it's a procedure, it's a set of rule that we follow from when we begin a project till when we finish it, till when we manage it and all that. So how has it been helping us to achieve our customers' expectation, even exceeding it?
Mm, okay.
So hello.
So
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so one of the ways in my own perspective, based on what I do, is I feel that also helps. It has helped in setting out service level agreements, which is
Okay.
used to measure the time we use to respond to customers.
Yeah.
So we have different service which has been agreed upon, which you have to meet. So for any particular task, the customer is expectation is that within a particular period of time, we are supposed to have been able to resolve that issue within that particular, because it's agreed by both the service providers and the customers are
And the
aware.
customers, yeah.
So once we are able to, so once that is agreed on, so they know the customer has the comfort that within, if I report a case within a particular accepted time with the business and the customer, that issue has to be resolved. And if it's not resolved, then he knows that. So it also guides the service providers to make sure they are on top of their game and resolve issues as at when due.
Okay. Okay. That's service level agreement. Okay.
Okay, for me, okay, just like you said, ISO standard and ITO standard. ISO basically focuses on the uh, the satisfaction of the customer and the end result of okay, what are the guiding principles in mostly keeping customers' data private and the risk assessment. But ITIL is granular. ITIL has to do with the processes, the internal processes of what you do to make the customer satisfied. So from ITIL, you know about the IT governance, who does what, the segregation of duty, who is in charge of this, who makes sure that this is done, and the process flow. Okay, at this level, we have this first level, second level, and third level. It's not as if everybody, when there's an issue, everybody just rush to the issue and resolve it. No, we have a level one
It has
engineer,
levels. Yeah.
level two engineer, then cascade to the level three engineer. So ITIL talks about the internal processes, the governance of the internal processes, how people are organized, and also the service level. We're talking about the service level agreement. The service level agreement has to do with okay, who is responsible for what, and how do you keep an uptime for the customer. So the time frames, um, time to make a decision, and when to resolve an issue, the time frame for an issue to be resolved. Thank you.
All right. So, um,
Okay. Okay. If you will allow me to dwell a little on that, just like Mr. Adeoye just mentioned, it's actually a kind of IT governance, and it involves some or certain frameworks and strategies that you need to put in place when it comes to this kind of uh, thing. And what we are saying is, you look at it. How do I start? What is my objective? Where am I going? Even when you get there, am I going to turn back at that point? There is always need for what we call monitoring. Even after you have implemented or you have delivered the services, you don't
mhm.
just get there and turn back. You need to still do what we call monitoring, even after the services has been delivered. Let's say for me, I issue out a lot of radios, a lot of terminals to people. I don't just issue those terminals out. What services do they have on it? How do they request for those services? Even after they have the radio or they have the terminal, how am I sure that those radios or those terminals are working optimally? These are the things I call the frameworks. Uh, signing it, the radio out, getting it to the customer, watching over it, which I refer to as monitoring. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, if I would just add a little,
Okay.
from what Mr. Martins have actually said, what happened is that when you look at the ITO service life cycle, you will see that in the life cycle, it has given us an opportunity to do some kind of maybe strategy. We strategize before carrying out a task or service, or you want to deliver a service to somebody first. You need to do a kind of service strategy, because strategy helps you now to kind of lay a foundation of what you actually want to do, and with that you now be able to do a kind of a design for that particular service, and after that you go straight to transitioning, and then you go into a core part, which is service operation, whereby you kind of monitor, you do some event management, you do some incident management. Okay, where Adeoye comes in and says, oh, for this kind of request or this kind of incident, who resolve it, who attends to this kind of issues, and it calls for the last part, which is service, which is continuous service improvement. Okay, how can we improve this service? What are the things we can add? What can we do to this to make it more effective, so that customer will always be happy? We don't need to wait until this happen, until there's a breakdown before it happens. For example, what Adeoye said, that the CBN is actually coming up together with ISO to enforce a law that would make every data center, every banks hand over their kind of a backup or data recovery part to another company. It is part of continuous service improvement. That means in case of eventuality, what do we do? Are we sure that the data will still be intact? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I think that's the IT part is quite exhaustive. Yeah, I'm so happy about that because the proficiency in the IT framework help us to align IT with business need. The IT framework help us to achieve the business need, which is the purpose of the setup for IT. So I have about 3 or 4 areas I want us to talk on this IT. Then we do a wrap up because I don't there will not be much It's not a structured one here. So I want to talk about the functionality of this standard, of the IT standard. What I mean by functionality, I want to talk about the suitability, the accurateness, and interoperability. In the area of suitability, how suitable are the services rendered under ITIL meeting expected results? How suitable are okay, we are putting in our effort. How suitable are those results to the expected our expectation or the client expectation? And when we talk about the accurateness, I want us to talk about how accurate this standard produce expected results. How accurate? Let's say in the scale of 1 to 10, when we implement a service under the ITIL framework, we get at least 20 to 40 or 100% of accurateness. Then interoperability, we say this framework, can we lift it from a particular section of IT to another section of IT? Can we lift it from, let's say, networking and go to service, customer service, or take it to projects or any other area of? So those are the
Okay, okay.
functionality. Yeah.
Thank you. Really, when you spoke about taking it from IT to project, that's another thing entirely, because project is a different field completely. So I would not want us to take it to project, but we can actually take it, let's say, from front desk to field guys with
Okay.
little or no modification to those frameworks, to those strategies. But you know one thing about all these IT, IL, whatever infrastructure we call it, we still need people to monitor the, I'll put this word in code, the implementer, the people that are actually doing the work on field. If they are doing the right thing, I can tell you authoritatively, it will bring out the same good reports and a result rather, if they are well implemented. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mr.
Oh,
Martins.
okay.
Sorry,
So
Martin. Sorry.
just like
Oh,
okay,
go. Ade.
okay. So just like Mr. Martin said, when you talk about um, the accuracy of IT framework,
Yeah.
whatever framework you have, whatever system you have, whatever technology you have or standards you have, the most important aspect of it are the people that run it. So when you don't have people that are skilled, they are not skillful enough, as a skill gap in knowledge gap, motivation, um, support system. Definitely, there is no kind of framework you want to build that will be successful. For a time, you can patch it up. For a time, patch it and patch it up. Eventually, you see the system, the framework collapsing. So for ITIL, the all the components of ITIL and all the people that form the components of ITIL, the management, the clients, the people that execute, and the field engineers, the executors and the field engineers, they need to come together. It's not as if someone sits on the high table and say, okay, yes, I decide this framework for you, let it run. No, there's nothing like auto run. They have to work together. The management and the clients. The client has dictated to the management that this is what I
No,
want,
no,
this is the
no,
SLA, there's an
yes.
agreement. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
So
please.
there is an agreement on SLA that okay, this is my SLA. We've agreed that this is the SLA we want. This is the penalty for missing set a certain threshold of SLA, maybe for a time frame, a month, quarterly, biannually. We've agreed. So the management needs to come to the executors too, the people on the field, the people that do the job. With my experience with enterprise network, I get to understand that even the management is not as powerful as the people that execute, the people on the field. Eventually, when the cookie crumbles, the management pays more. They have a lot more to lose than the people on the field. Eventually, people on the field will always find their way out, find their way around the system. So the management in a very organized system, the management needs to come back to the executors. I have had an agreement with clients. Let me have an agreement with you. This is what I have discussed with the client. This is what we need to achieve. Can we do it? The people that execute, they have the experience, that the SMEs. So they will define that, okay, this SLA is reasonable. So when management is even talking with the client, the people, the SMEs, the executors should be carried along. So in terms of the success of ITIL, yes, it's the people. It's all about the framework is there to work, but it's the people that execute that determines the
That
success.
determines the success.
Also, yeah. So also in terms of using the same framework for different moving from client-based in terms of front desk to project. Project is another ball game. It's in terms of project, you have a longer time frame, you have a longer milestones. You have different milestones with
Even from the definition of project, it has a definite start and definite end. But unlike
exactly
services, it's a
services
continuous
It's a
improvement.
continuous. Okay.
Improvement. You have to
Yeah.
monitor
and
even after
also
you
if
have
you look
delivered.
at also if you look at project, that's why we have the project management office, PMO. So the project management office have their own framework that governs projects and delivery of projects.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
Okay, hello.
Yeah.
Okay, just to buttress what Martins and Adeoye said, there are some real life examples that we experience on why sometimes it's difficult to get as much as we should with ITIL. It's both on the management side and is also sometimes is on the executor side, so the people on the field. On the management side, sometimes we have
Hello, Funsho.
hello.
Hello. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay,
So we
okay.
have situations where SLAs are decided without involving the executors, the field people. So it becomes an issue because to the executor, the time assigned might not be that reasonable because we have issues like where our location, for example, you have to move from one point to another before you even start thinking about the job.
The job. Hello.
For some people, so one of everybody goes so it's just enter whatever you want to use, so that it will not there to else through and into the oh, time, uh,
What percentage can we give to it? I don't know if I'm actually saying your mind, so that
Yeah,
we can go on from there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead.
Adoye.
Go ahead. I'm following you. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Another part is when we talk about sustainability, what is the percentage we give to it? So can we say, okay, well, from ITO standard, if you look at it, we can give 80%, we can give 70%. And when we talk about accuracy, we can say, okay, for accuracy, 80% or 60% or 50%. I think this is what Olaoye actually needs. And talking
okay.
about the functionality, I don't know, Olaoye, if I'm actually still pointing to what you mean, if we're because so that we'll not take it we'll not broaden it too much, we'll not blow it too much, we'll just help him
or,
go straight
or even
to
go off the line.
yeah.
Okay, anyway, whatever point we make, we still have its place in the findings. So, but what like we may say the functionality, how suitable or accurate or interoperability they are. We may not be able to say if in my mind I have intent of getting a percentage in quote, but you guys on field say no, we don't measure it by percentage. We measure it by this or this. I think I'm fine with it. So I think that's better that way.
So
So,
for me,
No, but I think we still need to give you what you want for your own, because if you give out a questionnaire, because this is like a live questionnaire. So if you give out a questionnaire, yeah, percentages, yeah, or like on this you feel about.
so for me, okay, for me, I think for the success is determined by the client, and from what I've seen, there is a high level of customer satisfaction. Like I'm saying, from 1 to 10, at least I can give ITIL 8 in terms of customer satisfaction, because also in ITIL there are checks and balances that checks the management on what to do, on how to handle operations.
yeah,
So the checks and balances are still there. Human factors are also considered, are also factored into the framework. So from my experience, from what I've seen in most of the clients I've had interactions with, I would say the success rate is 80%. So from 1 to 10 is 8.
yeah, that's 80%. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Adeoye, and the rest. Okay. Now the next one I would like us to do. I think we have like 2 or 3 more before we you're going to like 1 hour now. So it's I want to see the reliability of this standard. Yeah, how reliable this standard is. Can we have we been able to test this standard to beat our chest that anytime, any day, this standard will not fail us. And when we're talking about reliability, we should talk about the error detection and correctness. If the standard is able to detect error, like we have an error in the system, in the standard, if we are able to detect the error, and then if the standard is able to correct that error.
Okay.
All right.
Allow you
Yeah, yes,
based
sir.
on what you just asked now. There is no one size fits all to this kind of answer. or I mean this kind of question, in the sense that uh, there are so many standard out there. If you say, like yesterday, we believed the best way of communication was landline using copper cable. Later we discover, oh, it's good to be on mobile. Even while we are on mobile, we are using microwave to transmit the backhaul. But now we have moved from microwave backhaul to fiber. What I'm saying in essence is, for part time, if your question carries part time, then we can say, okay, it's 80%, it's 10, it's 8 out of 10. But if it is not part time, I'm telling you, everything is changing. Like yesterday doesn't mean yesterday, really, it can be years back. Nobody knows anything about AI. But today we are talking about AI. So there is no firm say, oh, ITIL will continue to work and it will never fail. Of
Yeah.
course, there will always be a failure unless there is continuous modification, more continuous improvement to this. Thank you.
Think,
Okay.
Martins, from that part, yeah, that is the reason why we have something called IT service strategy. And what does strategy do? Strategy try as much as possible to, at every point in time, look at, okay, what is in vogue now? Oh, okay, let's plan against. Okay, we know, for example, we know we are actually using, maybe when we were on Windows. Okay, like let's use our own company for example. When we were on Windows 7, yeah, the strategy team actually did what they strategized to say, okay, Windows 7, Microsoft has moved to Windows 10. Okay, let's strategize and let's see in Windows 10, what can Windows 10 give to us? I think Windows 10 can be better. So, and all these things are being done whereby they present it to the business and say, oh, okay, I think Windows 10 is going to give us more. There are a lot of things that Windows 10 is going to give us that Windows 7 is not giving. And by that, it helps us to move with what is happening in time of technology. So as the world is revolving, we also need, there's a team which is still under IT strategy. They move with what is happening and bring it back to the business and say, oh, okay, this is what we have, this is what we have seen, and another team begins to design it. And after designing, then it goes straight to transition, and before you know, and at the end it comes back to continuous service improvement. Okay, how can we improve this while we keep looking at what the technology is bringing? You understand? Okay, so that's just to add to that part of what you're saying. So it's a continuous thing anyway, from what I think.
So for me, I think ITL has been really successful. It's been really reliable. If you look at other frameworks, COBIT, IBM, Tivoli, every other business framework, they all pick from ITIL. Most of them claim to say, okay, they are trying to bridge the gap of ITIL in terms of working in silos and segregation of duty. Eventually, they copy what ITIL has established. So if you look at it, even in enterprise network, as it is now in enterprise network, there is all called DevOps. So DevOps means as a network engineer, you can't just be a network engineer in terms of infrastructure alone. You need to understand network software development. So you have to be both a network engineer and a software developer. DevOps completely copied ITIL framework. Is basically ITIL framework, even though they are trying to merge duties that, okay, one person should be able to do 2, 3 things, but eventually, yeah, they're copying the ITIL framework. And also, if you look at ITIL, the ITIL keeps changing. There is improvement. There is ITIL version 2. Now I know there is ITIL version 4. So most of these graphs are being breached. They are being covered up. So for me, it's pretty reliable.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, we have like, I want us to have like 15 minutes more. That's 45 minutes to go now. So in this one, I want to, talking about the, still on the standard, talking about, I want us to talk about the monitoring and conformity. Yeah, because when we are talking before, we talk about the functionality that the framework has to be monitored. Even you have a framework, somebody must monitor it to get to the, that's when we talk about the people. You have the framework, the people, the management, the people, and the monitoring to get the expected this thing. So now we're talking about the monitoring. So how does this standard monitors the overall, as in the standard on its own now? How does it monitors the overall process and delivery? And in conformity, how does it assess the 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 performance as against satisfaction?
I will come in here. If you look at monitoring,
Yeah.
eventually is still part of what we say ITIL, continuous service improvement. That's the CSI. Yeah. Okay. And without continuous service improvement, uh, I think everything is not going to work. Reason being is you won't even know what is happening, and that's where you have monitoring. Because first you will have to at least do a service review of the service you're providing. Okay, we've actually been giving this service to these people. Let's even do a kind of a service review. Have we been able to meet up the SLAs or the ALA? You understand different things. Let's do a review of what we give. Okay, and eventually you go into process evaluation. You evaluate all these processes to say, oh, okay, in this particular processes, what else do we give? Then monitoring comes in. Okay, so you monitor what you are actually doing, and in this monitoring is part of what you have as where you have this quality assurance, to be sure that, oh, what you are giving out is actually the best, or whatever you're doing, even if you are moving towards another level of IT, you understand. So monitoring is something that has been imbibed in ITIL, part of the continuous improvement. Monitoring is part of it, and without monitoring, there's no way you can know how far the service you are providing is through monitoring. So I think monitoring is something that has always been, and it will always give the best. Yeah.
Perfectly said. Just like what Mr. Kayode said. Uh, the success of ITIL has to do with the monitoring, because service delivery review with your clients gives you feedback on what's been done and what has not been done. That alone is monitoring. So I don't have much to say. Mr. Kayode said it all. The success of ITIL to me uh, is basically on monitoring. The framework has been built in such a way that there is adequate monitoring for all levels, from the low level management from the clients. So it's the monitoring that gives the satisfaction.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martins? Okay, I think it's
Yes,
okay.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm actually here. But
Okay.
really, I don't really have much to say to this.
How
Yeah.
is the expert? He has finished it.
Okay. Okay. I think
Bonjour.
the last one I would like us to talk about is the usability. Uh, when I mean usability, I want to because from what I've gotten, I can say the understanding of everyone concerning this standard is at the highest level, because from here I can see that everyone actually have worked with this standard, have digested it, and it has become part and parcel. So those are the things I have in mind when I talk about usability. Then learnability, how is this standard learned? Do we I know you read book to learn, but does it come with how do we learn it? That's let me not digress to too much on that question. How do we, is it learnable? Is it or we just have to adopt it? Whether we learn it or we don't learn it, we just have to adopt it or something. And the last one is attractiveness. Is not a physical thing, but how attractiveness does it when I mean attractiveness, how do we find it easy? There are some things we want to do, but because of the standard could be a constraint. So if we look at it as a constraint, how attractiveness is that constraint? Does it actually allow us to do the work the way we want to do it, or it constrains us to some extent that we cannot do this or we can do this? That's what I mean by attractiveness. How does it appeal to us to use it? Does it make us feel like, oh, it's a good standard we must use, it's a good something we must adopt? So that's on that about usability, please.
Okay, if I will butt in here, if you are talking about learning of the standard, learning is a continuous thing. You understand? We keep learning. The day you stop learning, then that's the end. So we keep learning every day. And what most organization does is that they try as much as possible to do a kind of let's say refresher, because ITIL standard, it's you have to be certified, and that's the reason why there's a certification for it, which kind of make it global. So with your certificate, you can practice anywhere in the world because it's the same standard, it's the same agreement. You understand? I don't know if I can put it that way. So what I'm now saying is that there's you I don't know, maybe maybe Funshaw or somebody said something initially that ITIL has moved from version 3, from version 2 to version 3 to version 4, and that is where the learning coming, because what has been done in version 2, there had been some little modification in version 3, and version 4 also had been a
For the
modification
fun.
of version, yeah, of version 3. So in that situation there should be a kind of refresher whereby the company once in a while comes in and say, oh guys, let's bring you guys together and let's do a refresher. This is what is happening now, so that we also will be on the same standard. In that kind of situation whereby you begin to get used and digest this thing, then it becomes attractive. And to be sincere with you, ITO, from my own observation, if you practice ITO, it's just like you are actually putting yourself as the customer. This selflessness is just there, because if the selflessness is not there, you don't want to go back and strategize, or go back and monitor, or go back and check on the service review, and you understand, or the service level agreement, the SLAs and the OLAs. You understand? It is this attractiveness that will make you do all these things. So I'm not saying it as a kind of standalone order that says you must do this. If you look at ITO, it's flexible. It's just it's like selflessness. If you are selfless in whatever you do, then you won't find ITIL difficult, or you won't find it stationary. It's flexible, and with
And
that, I
easy to
think
use. Is
it
it easy
makes
to use?
yeah, yeah, it's easy to use, and it makes it attractive, and it's good. It's good. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So for talking about the attractiveness, like Mr. Guy just said, until when well practiced, you makes you selfless. So
Mm,
in organizations where ITIL is really being used, the framework is really in place. Every member of the organization that is practicing that ITIL sees himself not as an employee of the organization, but as a business owner. Your start changing that. Okay, if I were to be the customer, or if I were to be the management in charge of this organization, what will I do? So that ITIL framework has given everybody that kind of thinking, that kind of reasoning, such that you wouldn't want to miss SLAs, you wouldn't want to deviate from the framework. I think that is pretty attractive and appealing too.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Um.
For me, I think
Okay.
the attractiveness comes from usage, and as in practical usage, and not really having the certification, because I think the main thing about ITIL is actually when you are actually practicing it. It's one thing to have the certification, but you can have the certification. Like, I can use myself as an example. I have the certification, but it's not something I actually practice on a day to day. So sometimes it's difficult for you to be able to, if you don't practice it, if you just have the certification and have it there, you don't practice it, then it's not attractive to you, because you don't know the execution of the framework. You just know that, okay, you
True.
read this and that to pass the exam. So you actually need to, so even for the learnability, it should be more about hands-on practice
Yeah.
of that of the, and not just having the certification. So if you have the certification, you're practicing it, it becomes a part of your daily part of you, then you definitely find it attractive.
Mm, okay. Thank you. Mr.
I agree.
Martins.
I agree with that for sure. I agree.
I I fully agree with what Mr. Funsho just said now.
Very
Yes,
valid, valid.
it's not by going for the certificate alone. It's by practicing. They say what you practice is what you know. It becomes something you have on your fingertip after you have started using it over and over again, and it becomes like one of my person said here that it's like washing a baby. It gets to a stage that you don't think of how to wash a baby again because it's a baby you've been washing all your life. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for the in-depth sharing of this topic with me. I think it's just 58 minutes and target is just like 10, 30 minutes, but we have done so much on it, and if I can show you my daughter is filled. So I've gotten a lot to talk about, and then my findings is very large on this now. So I don't think there is any other prepared question, but if there is anything maybe on a final note you like to share with me as touching this topic, if there is anything you want to share with me before we close the section, I would like to. It's not there's no more question. I don't want to ask any question, but if you have anything that will help me in going forward on this project, just
Yeah,
give.
for me, I don't have anything. But if you have questions, you can always get in touch with all of us
Okay,
at this point in time.
okay. All right. Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
Mr.
for the opportunity.
Mr. Martins, I really appreciate, and Mr. Funsho, Kayode, and Ajoye, I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's just exactly, we started more than 1 hour ago, but this interview took just exactly 1 hour. And I'm going to stop the interview at exactly